Hey, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I guess 10:30, so even though you haven't done me any harm, you're in for another late night meandering. And I wanted to look at the idea of quantum science and Jesus Christ. That shouldn't take long, should it? But I read a little while ago a book. Unfortunately, it's one of the books that I left behind when I came to the Philippines. I should have brought it with me. It was called Quantum Success, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the lady that wrote it. But she was a scholar of quantum science, and she gave some very, very accurate descriptions for what actually happens when you wish for something. Now, a wish sounds a little bit Tinkerbell, doesn't it, and magic wands, but think of another word that suits you, and we'll leave wish in for the moment. Let's say that if you wish for a better life, there's nothing Tinkerbell about that, is there? And when you pray to God, there's nothing wishful thinking about that either, and yet there is. So what are we looking at? What actually happens, according to the lady that wrote Quantum Success, what actually happens when you wish for something? In other words, when you put out the intention that something will happen in your life, a change that you are hoping for, what happens is that wish goes out. Let's just imagine it going out as a message to the universe. It goes out in its entirety. The mind duplicates exactly what all of your emotional content was when you sent out that intention, wish, request, hope, whatever your word is for it, for something to happen in your life. And what she, as far as I remember, what she talked about was purity of intent. So when you intend something to happen, let's say that I intend that in my life there will be, well, for instance, we're hoping for a child, so we'll take that as a real wish. Now, I can look at that in various ways. I'm married to Beth, who is a born-again Christian, and when she prays every night, she sends out her intentions, her wish, she sends out her hopes, she sends out her gratitude for those things that we have been given, like a wonderful life together and a faithful love for each other. Things to be grateful for. And in her terminology, she will pray to Jesus, and she will ask Jesus as a personalized force of goodness, someone that she has made her personal saviour, in her words. Do I look at it quite like that? I don't look at it quite like that, and I get hauled over the coals every time by someone who is out there who will absolutely refuse to see it in any other way but in one particular terminology, one particular sentence, one particular quotation from the Bible. And yet, what this author of Quantum Success is saying is that if you send out, if I send out the wish, as I do, my prayer, my intention, my hope, my dream of Beth and I having a child, if I send that out and it goes out to the universe, to the Creator, to whatever that God power, that force is that you interpret to be true for you, it goes out in its entirety. Everything everything, every single quality or emotion that is within my request goes out. And it will come back in exactly the same purity of however I couched the terms of my wish, my hope, my prayer. It will come back in exactly that same way. Now, one of the things that the book Quantum Success, one of the points it made was, if you send out a wish, let's say that a wish prayer, let's call it a prayer wish, so that both sides are catered to. Right, so you send out the prayer wish, and it is for, in my case, to enjoy the love of a child again, and the company of a child, and to be able to have that with Beth. Now, if I send that out with a condition attached to it, if I say, I can be happy if I have this, then I put a condition on that which must be met. If I say, if only I could have a child, it would make me very happy. Now I've said that in order to be happy, I need to have a child. So I'm lacking on the purity of intent. Perhaps if I rephrased that and said, I am eternally happy for what I have, for the joy that's in my life, and I would hope that that would be enhanced with the birth of a child. That would be closer to saying, I am happy, I'm grateful for the degree of joy, and I don't say I need to have this. There's no desperation. But in the first case, where I say, if only I could have a child, I'd be happy, there's desperation there, isn't there? There's a condition. There's a, I can only be, the other side of the coin, I can only be happy if I have this. Well, that's not going to bring what I want. It's not going to bring what I want. It's going to bring exactly what was in the message. And that's what it will do. Now, I saw a prayer once, and someone said, thank you, Lord, for giving me what I need rather than what I want. That's kind of like exactly what I've just said. In other words, whatever that person had prayed for, they had prayed not for what they needed, but for what they wanted. And there's a difference. And if you view the Lord as a personalized force of good, then he was simply protecting that person from themselves. So they were getting what they actually deserved. Now, in the past, I've talked about how what we get, what we are having in our lives right now, is what we deserve. Now, a while ago, when I was in California, I had a friend who, he was a staunch Christian, and we were talking just generally in general terms, and I asked him, what do you think you deserve? And he said, well, I think I deserve to have a good quality of work. I'm a good carpenter. I deserve to live in a nice place. I deserve to have a good lady who would be faithful to me and love me for what I am. And that was what he said, that's what I think I deserve. So I said, and perhaps a little cruelly, and had to change my my tune on this a little in a few more sentences. I said to him, do you know what you actually think you deserve? And he said, what? I said, well, you're driving a heap of junk. You don't get the work that you want. You're living on a building site because there's so much work needs to be done and you can't afford to pay for it. And you don't have a woman that will be good to you. That's what you actually think you deserve. And why? And of course he said, oh, why do you say that? He said, because that's what you've got. So I had to change it, and I said, look, think about me. What do I think I deserve? And I told him what I thought I deserve. And then I said, what do you think I've got? It's not what I've just told you I deserve. So in other words, what you actually think you deserve, truly in your heart of hearts, with purity of intent, that's what you get. So if you want to look at the purity of the messages that you are sending out to the universe, the prayers that you are sending out to the Lord, to God, to the God power, to the Creator, who will give you in abundance what you truly think that you deserve. If you want to know how that's going, look at what you've got. And it brings in all kinds of other stuff. It brings in karma. What you have done in the past will generate the expectation of what you deserve in the present. The thoughts that we have right now are actually in the process right now of creating our future, of creating the future life that we want. Do we want to be deprived of a good place to live, to be short of the money to pay the electricity bill, to not be able to afford a nice car, to be unfulfilled at work? Do we want that? We may think that according to our self-esteem that that's what we deserve. Many people have said, I don't deserve any better. Now, they usually say it much easier when they look at what other people are getting, and they say, well, he got what he deserves. Just deserves. So if we want to, there's two things that are involved then, isn't there? There's self-esteem. Self-esteem tells us what we deserve, because the subconscious mind, which is actually the only mind that is not subconscious, the unconscious, it's never unconscious, it's always alive, well, awake, alert, and listening, and noting everything that we think, say. You know that little voice we've talked about before? If I say to you, so, do you think that you're successful in what you do? And you say, yes, I do. And the little voice at the back says, oh, are you kidding me? That little voice is that part of the pure self-esteem. That's your Jiminy Cricket. That's your conscience, which is saying, oh, well, yes, well, you do, but remember what you did when you did that deal with so-and-so? It knows. This is why when you talk to a Christian, he will say, God knows everything. Now, one of the things that I notice in the teachings of Jesus Christ, a lot of what he says seems to have been suppressed. It's not given the importance that it should. He said that you can do all these things. There was that one, remember that he said, faith, if you had enough faith that was as big as a mustard seed, you could move mountains. He's talking about the enormous power that people have if they can be true to their mission, true to themselves, and doing what a Christian would say is following the Word of God. Now, the other thing about prayer is that they say, be careful what you wish for. Now, the other side of that is that you are talking about the same thing that I've been saying about quantum success or quantum physics, where you have to have purity of intent and be wishing for something in its purest form, not in order to be happy. You don't tell God, you don't tell the universe, just give me this and I'll be happy. You don't do that. You say, whatever is best for the greatest number is what I would hope that you will grant me. Work, if you can give me what I truly am worthy of. That would be a more correct or more pure way of asking for something. If you're there, oh, there's so many jokes. The man who keeps saying, please, he prays every night, please let me win the lotto. Please, just, dear Lord, let me win the lotto. Let me just win the lotto and I'll be happy. In the end, a voice from above says, give me a break, help me out here, buy a ticket. So, we're looking at it's possible, because people tell me that, well, we are wishing that Beth will be able to redeem you and bring you into the fold of Jesus Christ. You don't have to bring me into the fold of Jesus Christ. I know very well a lot of the teachings of Jesus Christ, which have guided me in so many ways. We were recently worried about a friend of ours, Darrell, who is one of the people that we have met through our channel, and whose safety and happiness we hold dear to our hearts. And we'd sent him several messages, and he hadn't responded. And we started to get a little bit concerned. Well, why would he not respond, you know, and is he okay? And we sent him some little bit frantic, are you okay? We're worried about, are you okay? And he wrote back, and something that he said was, don't ever worry about me, because God is guiding everything that I do, every part of my life, and nothing or no one can pluck me from his hand. Now, in quantum terms, that means that he is true, my interpretation, he is true to his core belief in the Creator. And because of that, he believes, and it will be true for him, that whatever is best for everyone, not for just him, but he will be guided by no greater power than the Creator, than the Lord, than Jesus Christ, whatever is true for you. And I'm hoping that in talking about this now, that those who are on one frame of reference or the other will not say, oh, well, no, you can't think in that way. You can't think on that side. You can't think about Jesus Christ. You can't think about that. I'm just hoping that you will suspend disbelief, as I've said before, as my friend Noel Huntley, the writer from the UK, tells us. If you can just suspend disbelief, just not disbelieve, not discount. if you can just allow a way of looking at something which may not be yours. That's the key. That's the key to affecting change in your life. If things are not exactly as you want them to be, and I'm talking about if you're hoping for a more fulfilling job, if you're hoping to find some kind of a mission. Lots of people write to me and tell me, I'm hoping that in the 2 years, I have 2-year plan, and then I'm going to retire in the Philippines, and I'm hoping to do something like you are doing. They have that intention, that wish to have that happen. And if it is that you hope to be helping a lot of people, if that's how you see it, then it's a worthwhile prayer, that's a worthwhile intention. In order to the man that I just told you about, what do you deserve, and I made a point there. He actually told me that he had quite a past. He had robbed banks, and he told me that the change for him, his redemption, came. He had just robbed a bank, an armed robbery. He had robbed a bank, and he was chased by the police, and because he was driving a bomb, because he was driving a bunch of crap, he got caught, and the police dragged him from the car, put him face down on the ground, and he said, when I was lying there on the ground, spread-eagled on the ground, having my hands tied behind my back, he said, I was glad. I was glad that I had been caught. And that's a really sobering thing, isn't it? When everything else was what anybody else would probably think was the worst thing that could happen, he was relieved. He went to jail, of course, and then when his case came up, he was offered, as is the way in America, he was offered a lawyer. They said, if you cannot afford an attorney, a free attorney will be granted for you to represent you and your case. And he said, I don't wish to be represented by an attorney. And when he went up and the charge against him was read out, unbelievably, he said to the judge, I throw myself on the mercy of the court because I do not deserve any more than that. That's what I deserve. I did this thing wrong. I don't wish anybody to try to get me off. I plead guilty. And he was sentenced to a time in prison. And he had a funny observation, actually, because when he went to prison, he said, I always thought, he told me, I always thought that the prisons were full of innocent people. People that said, no, I never did it. He said, I didn't meet them. I didn't meet those people. He said, I met people who said, yeah, I did it, and I'll do it again. People who had done terrible things and had no remorse about it, were not in denial, and said that they'd done it. Well, he came out of prison, and he was, I don't know whether he was born again, but he was born again. What happened to him was his lesson. That was the rock bottom when he realized that he needed help and he needed correction. So it's a matter of looking, as Christ said. Christ taught, he preached the kingdom within. You'll find that in the Bible. For as little as I know about the Bible, I do know a little. Please don't quote me on exact words, because I'm not professing to give you the actual reading from the Bible. But Christ preached the kingdom within. And what I think that he was preaching was that we all have within us that element of the Creator, which we will live through that if we have any sense. We will live through that. We will have purity of intent, to steal one from quantum physics, and we will ask for those things which we need rather than want. And as soon as you take out the want, then you get rid of a whole load of garbage. That's when you find out what's important. That's when you find out where you should be going. That's when you start listening to the guiding voice, be it Jesus or something else. Then that's what will come to your aid. Now, just in closing, I had a message from a friend of ours, Josie Manning of Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. She likes to be called that. And she sent me something that was a news report from Egypt. And apparently a man there, a Muslim, had, and this is not about knocking Muslims, his wife had been, he caught his wife reading the Bible, and he killed her. He killed her, and he buried her body along with an infant of a few months old and a young girl, a daughter of about, I think, 8 years old. But once again, don't quote me on the exact things. Now, I think it was something like 2 weeks later, he had accused an uncle of killing his wife. Now, there came, 2 weeks later, there came a reason to dig where the bodies had been buried. Oh, by the way, he buried the children alive. So, when they dug the bodies up, the children were alive. This is incredible how this could happen, and illustrates just how there are things that are happening all around us which we, with our three-dimensional thinking, we probably will never understand until we go on to the other side. But they asked the little girl, the 8-year-old, how did you possibly survive? And she said, every day a man in silvery clothes came to us and fed us, and he woke my mother up so that she could feed the baby. He had silvery clothes on, and he had wounds in the palms of his hand. And he came to us every day, and he fed us so that we wouldn't die. Now, a child is only 8 years old and living in a Muslim family. In fact, that's why they were killed, because the mother had been looking at the Bible. So that's an illustration of that there are things that we don't understand, and things that are happening that you can disbelieve if you wish. But a presenter on, I think, the way that I think it happened, a presenter said this was Jesus Christ. And you can go and check that out. As far as I know, it certainly is exactly what I've said it is. But pretty incredible. So you can go quantum physics, you can go for purity of intent, you can go for the creator, you can go for the all that is, the universe, the God power, you can go for Jesus. There are all people all out there who have their own interpretations, just like that man in his interpretation felt that it was right to do that terrible thing. But that little girl will never have her belief and her image of what kept her alive taken from her, that's for sure. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for staying with me if you have. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Bye for now.